Imagine being handed a bright future full of possibilities, only to find out that the keys to unlock that future, stable jobs, affordable housing, and financial security, are slipping further out of reach. For Generation Z, those born roughly between 1997 and 2012, this isn't just a hypothetical scenario, it's a harsh reality. Despite being the most educated and tech-savvy generation in history, Gen Z is facing unprecedented financial challenges. But why is this happening? How can the generation that grew up with more opportunities than ever be struggling so much financially? Some might argue that Gen Z is just going through the same struggles every young generation faces when entering adulthood: student loans, entry-level wages, and the challenge of building a career. After all, wasn't it just a few decades ago that millennials were labeled as the broke generation? Maybe this is just part of the natural cycle, and as Gen Z ages, their financial situation will improve. But is it really that simple? Or are there deeper, more systemic issues at play that are uniquely disadvantaging this generation? To understand why Gen Z is facing such financial hardships, it's essential to look beyond the surface-level challenges that young adults typically face. Unlike previous generations, Gen Z is grappling with a combination of economic pressures that have compounded to create a perfect storm of financial instability. These factors range from the rapidly increasing cost of living to the burdens of student loan debt, all set against a backdrop of global economic uncertainty. Let's break down the key reasons contributing to the financial struggles of Gen Z. Reason number one is the skyrocketing cost of living. One of the biggest reasons Gen Z is getting poorer is the rapidly increasing cost of living. Over the past decade, housing prices have soared, particularly in urban areas where many young people live and work. Renting, which was once considered a more affordable option, has also become prohibitively expensive. Coupled with rising costs for essentials like healthcare, education, and transportation, many Gen Zers find themselves spending the majority of their income just to cover the basics, leaving little room for savings or investments. In San Francisco, one of the most expensive cities in the United States, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment has exceeded $3,500 per month. This makes it nearly impossible for many young professionals to afford housing, even with a full-time job. The high cost of living in cities like San Francisco has forced many Gen Zers to either live with roommates well into their late 20s or move back in with their parents, delaying their financial independence. Reason number two is stagnant wages. While the cost of living has skyrocketed, wages have not kept pace. Many Gen Zers are entering the workforce in a gig economy where jobs are often unstable, part-time, and lack benefits. Even those who secure full-time employment often find that their salaries don't stretch far enough to cover their needs, let alone allow for wealth-building activities like buying a home or saving for retirement. The promise of higher education leading to higher-paying jobs has also faltered, as many college graduates struggle to find jobs in their field that pay a livable wage. According to a study by the Economic Policy Institute, wage growth for young workers in the United States has been sluggish since the 1980s. For example, in 2020, the median wage for workers aged 18 to 24 was $12.75 per hour, barely higher than it was 40 years ago when adjusted for inflation. This stagnation has left many young workers struggling to make ends meet, especially in an economy where the cost of living has risen dramatically. Reason number three is student loan debt. Speaking of higher education, the burden of student loan debt is another significant factor contributing to Gen Z's financial struggles. With the cost of college tuition rising much faster than inflation, many students are forced to take out large loans to finance their education. Upon graduation, these young adults are immediately saddled with debt, which eats into their income and makes it difficult to save, invest, or even afford basic necessities. In 2022, the average student loan debt per borrower in the United States was around $37,000. This debt load has led to financial strain for many young graduates who find themselves struggling to make their monthly payments while also trying to afford basic living expenses. The student debt crisis has been particularly severe in states like New York and California, where the high cost of living compounds the financial burden of loan repayments. Reason number four is economic instability and global events. Gen Z has also come of age during a time of significant economic instability. The COVID-19 pandemic, for example, hit just as many Gen Zers were entering the workforce, leading to job losses, reduced hours, and economic uncertainty. Even before the pandemic, the 2008 financial crisis had lasting effects on the global economy, and many Gen Zers grew up in households that were still recovering from its impact. Global events like these have created an economic environment that is far less stable than the one previous generation experienced. During the COVID-19 pandemic, unemployment rates for young adults spiked dramatically. In April 2020, the unemployment rate for workers aged 16 to 24 in the United States reached 27.4%, the highest it had been since the Great Depression. Many young workers were employed in industries hit hardest by the pandemic, such as hospitality and retail, leading to widespread job losses and financial insecurity. Reason number 5 is wealth inequality. The growing wealth inequality disproportionately affects younger generations. The gap between the rich and poor has widened significantly, with wealth increasingly concentrated in the hands of older generations. As a result, Gen Z faces greater challenges in accumulating wealth, particularly as they compete with older, more financially established individuals in the housing and job markets. A report by the Federal Reserve in 2021 highlighted the growing wealth gap in the United States, with the top 10% of households holding over 70% of the country's wealth. Meanwhile, younger generations, including Gen Z, hold a smaller share of the nation's wealth than previous generations did at the same age. This wealth disparity has made it difficult for young people to save for milestones, like buying a home or starting a business, further entrenching economic inequality. Reason number 6 is delayed financial milestones. Due to these financial pressures, many Gen Zers are delaying or forgoing traditional financial milestones, such as buying a home, getting married, or starting a family. This delay in wealth-building activities can have long-term consequences, making it harder for them to achieve financial security later in life. A survey conducted by the National Association of Realtors in 2023 found that the median age of first-time homebuyers in the United States had risen to 34, the highest on record. Many young adults cited financial instability and student loan debt as major barriers to homeownership. The delay in purchasing homes not only affects individual financial stability, but also has broader implications for the economy, as homeownership is a key driver of wealth accumulation. Reason number 7 is overload of information. In today's digital age, Gen Z is constantly bombarded with information from social media, news outlets, and online platforms. While access to information can be empowering, the sheer volume of content can also lead to confusion and decision paralysis. Many young people find it difficult to focus on their goals or determine a clear path for their future, which can contribute to financial instability. A 2022 survey by the American Psychological Association found that nearly 60% of Gen Z reported feeling overwhelmed by the amount of information available to them, particularly on social media. This information overload can lead to increased anxiety and difficulty making decisions, including those related to career and finances. For example, many young adults struggle with choosing a career path or investment strategy, often delaying important financial decisions out of fear of making the wrong choice. In conclusion, the financial struggles of Gen Z are not just a temporary phase or a rite of passage. They are the result of a complex interplay of economic, social, and systemic factors that have uniquely disadvantaged this generation. While some challenges are familiar to all young adults, the scale and severity of the issues facing Gen Z are unprecedented. To address these challenges, there needs to be a broader societal effort to create more equitable economic opportunities, ensure fair wages, and make essential services like education and housing more affordable. Only then can we hope to reverse the trend and provide Gen Z with the financial stability they deserve.